Speaking moistly. Speaking moistly. Keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly.
Welcome everybody to Speaking Moistly. With me as usual is Greg. Greg, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic in a new location today. I'm my second bunker. How are you doing today, Mark?
That's good. That's good. I was going to make a joke about being in Florida, but no, I'm here. Did you see a friend of mine tweeted out a picture of a Walmart that it was totally empty, and it was like, well, not totally empty, but he was taking a picture of like the fruit area, and it was all empty, and there was some bags at the bottom. It looked like some grapes, but everything, all the stuff that usually would be full was all empty in Texas, and I was thinking yesterday. Did you see this tweet or no?
I did see that tweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Wild, right? I was thinking yesterday, because my whole plan was to go to Florida if this all goes sideways, right? But what if Florida's worse? And then this tweet comes out, and I was like, I hope it seems like I'm wrong.
Yeah, but just so everyone's clear, watching, supply chain disruption is still conspiracy theory status. It is not yet a real thing yet. It's still in conspiracy theory zone, so it should not ever be taken seriously. No. It's ridiculous.
Oh, totally. Okay? It is a conspiracy theory. The leaked October email is clearly conspiracy fake. Just because a whole bunch of it is happening currently, and we're watching it happen in real time, that does not change the status that it is obviously fake.
Yeah, we're still crazy. We are still crazy. There's nothing to that. Even though some things have happened, it's just pure coincidence.
I mean, by some things, like there's a literal checklist, and like goes indexed in the order that the email talked about, and it has like checks on it. Totally fake. But all of it is happening, but totally fake.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, I mean, naturally, we also obviously have to bring up the lab leak thing. Oh, it wasn't leaks from a lab. That's crazy. You can't talk about that. And now it's like, well, here's a reason why there might be credibility to that theory.
Yeah.
And it's like, I recall specifically when CBC did this special crapping all over the Epoch Times for sending out their newspaper talking about this lab leak. Yep. And CBC had clips of Post of mail deliverers like crying, like, I feel like I'm throwing this slander and all this misinformation everywhere, and I don't want to have to send this paper to people's doors.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Hasn't really aged well.
No.
That special hasn't really aged well from the CBC.
I mean, it was, I don't
think.
Yeah, like the lab leak thing was Facebook official debunked. Right? Not happening. Lab leak. It is. It's like you put on Facebook that you're single. Everybody's like, oh, OMG, right? It's the same thing. Same thing. Facebook official, done. And then all of a sudden, they got back together. And you're like, what? Unbelievable. Now
how did this happen? Yeah.
You got to hear the story, man. You got to hear the story. I brought up the tweet about the Walmart. So if people are interested, the link is in the description. This is what was sent to me this morning. So the bottom there looks like it's got grapes and things and some oranges, right? But it's looking pretty sparse, looking kind of concerning. But again, totally fake, totally not legitimate. Okay, Paul Joseph Watson says, let's talk about Ontario. Paul Joseph Watson says, 15 months after just stay home for a few weeks to protect the NHS in the UK. Now they're saying...
So not Ontario, the UK.
This is the UK. This is the UK. This isn't Ontario yet. I'm just giving comparison. Now they're saying just a few weeks yet again, and he says it's over. COVID-19, government urged to delay the June 21st reopening by a month until schools break up. So I've been saying that they're just doing anything they can to get you to stay in your house for 2 more weeks and keep your business closed for 2 more weeks. And now they're asking for a month in the UK. And in Ontario, they're asking for till December. They've extended this till December now. And, well, good luck. Isn't that wild? Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying this for a while now of, if people don't resist this stuff, they're just going to keep on locking us down. And I've talked to people, and we may even had this conversation where it's like, they're just going to use like a month or 2 months in each summer as like a pressure release valve. And then they're just going to lock us down again in the fall. And it's like, I'm saying that again. That I'm calling it. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless people push against this, they're going to keep locking us down. And because it's just so abundantly clear to me, like these people do not care about us. They can't even prove anything anymore. They literally just, at this point, they should just change the word science and spell it differently. Be like, we created a new type of science, science.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to obey us. Like it's like health and safety. It's obedience and compliance. That's what those two words mean.
Yes, and if you are protesting certain things, that's just fine. And if you're protesting things they disagree with, you are not complying with these health orders, and you need to be arrested. And if you plan things they don't agree with, you also need to be arrested. It's very very concerning, but it's been concerning for a while. These things seem to be the facade seems to be slipping a little bit, like the Ontario government moving to declare these emergency powers until December. 66 MPs decided just not to vote. Ford himself decided just not to vote. He was like, no, I'm not going to. 36 PC MPs said yes, and 22 others said no. My MPPs, this is provincial. My MPP voted no, and that's Mike Schreiner, which, not that I'm shocked, but like, okay. Andrea Horvath also voted no for continuing the emergency till December. So what kind of governance do we have when more people abstained from the vote than actually took part? That's crazy, right?
Yeah, and I think I just feel really bad for Canadians out there who are trying to play catch up or trying to learn about the politics municipally, provincially, or federally, because it's been something that it must be so hard to try and just jump in and try to understand all of this stuff, because on one hand you have people trying to understand it for the first time, and you just have so much spin, right? You're going to be like, oh, well, actually, they're doing it because of this, and they're doing it because of that, so it's justified. Like there's so much media spin around it that, like, and just to bring up that news item of the residential schools,
Yep.
right? They found a bunch of these dead bodies of children. Obviously very sad to find that, but with every single news item these days, it can't just be an event that's happened that we can talk about and like understand. Everything, these dead bodies just become political fodder.
Yes.
To like justify one thing or another.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating, because for anybody who's trying to understand politics, it's like they have everything working against them to confuse them, to just kind of further make them feel like, I don't want to engage with this. This is hard. This is difficult. It's challenging. And then God forbid you form an opinion and actually say something. Oh my.
Not allowed to have that these days.
No way.
Yeah, with the indigenous, with the found indigenous gravesite, etc. Did you know that it was just photo radar? Like they're doing ground photo radar on this. They haven't dug anything up. It's just photo radar. Were you aware that was how this was all found?
So wait, did they actually find and dig up the bodies,
No.
or is it just a photo radar they're basing this off of?
It's just the forensic photo radar. Like it's like,
see, well, that's
Yeah.
a great example.
Yeah.
Like the headline is saying we found these physical dead bodies, and it's like, actually we're basing this off a radar.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's a mass grave on radar, I guess. And like the other part of this is a school that takes 500 students a year, plus faculty, plus whatever. The other thing, it was run by the Catholic Church until 1969, when Pierre Elliott Trudeau took over, stopped it being a residential school and turned it into a day school, which was overseen by John Chrétien until 1974, from 69 to 74. Don't you think that the Catholic Church would have some kind of records of these 251 bodies that were potentially there over from 1890 to 1970? Like, there is an explanation about this. There is a historical context. Would you think that maybe children who are in a residential school that maybe died because children die of illness back then, and I mean children die of illness now. 2 kids died in 2018 in Guelph from flu, right, in a school. But say the families didn't have the money to give them a proper burial, and say they didn't want to have Christian burial rites, so they were buried at the cost of whatever paid by the Catholic Church. Like, there's historical context here, and I'm personally pissed off that the media is just going with this. Oh yeah, Canada's obviously completely genocidal, and everything they've ever done is terribly wrong. It's like, get bent, you liars.
It's not about like I was saying, you're right. Like it's not about this historical context or trying to understand like what the situation is. It's like, white man, feel bad. White Canadians, you should feel terrible about yourselves.
Yeah.
You did this. And then Jagmeet Singh crying.
The crying.
Are you kidding me?
It was
like I tweeted out like, "Wow, Jagmeet actually just made Justin Trudeau look like a good actor."
Yes,
that was.
It's like,
I don't know what that was, but
yeah, I watched it and I felt like I felt like it was watching a clip of Family Guy where like Brian's critiquing somebody's bad acting. Where like we're in on Brian's joke and we're watching the bad actor and like, ooh, terrible, ooh, like yeah, and there was a couple of times where I was like, did he understand the question? Like, what is happening here? Like, it took like 4 minutes to be like, I'm really sorry about this, guys. We will fight for your justice. Like,
I just think it's funny how with Jagmeet, like he doesn't have the imagination to just imagine how bad his policies would be if they played out. But he somehow has the imagination to like put himself in the time and place of this genocidal history enough that he will actually like cry about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, we're really supposed to believe that he developed like the emotional connection of such a deep level of like truly understanding what happened in the past. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It's just, it's such a,
It's a departure. It's a departure from the Rolex and the BMW, right? It's well. Let's talk about that now, I guess. Like, here's Jagmeet Singh getting out of a Rolex and hugging maskless his friend. Days before this announcement, he made the announcement that people who flout the COVID-19 rules and anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers. Oh wait, maybe not just anti-maskers. People who didn't follow the rules were obviously alt-right, and there were other things that he said, but here's video of him just openly flouting it, like getting out of the car, giving his buddy a hug. It's interesting.
Maybe he's a right winger. Maybe he's going to switch to the PPC. Maybe he's a far right extremist.
Can you imagine that press conference with Bernier and Jagmeet?
Oh my God!
I would love to see it. Don't cry this time, Jagmeet.
Yeah,
terrible. It'd be terrible.
No, I mean it's just insulting at this point. And thankfully, there's at least some people telling Jagmeet to resign after this. Yeah. Because it's like, you're supposed to be a leader. You're supposed to say stuff. It's supposed to mean something. Yeah. Like, you're clearly playing politics. You're clearly just race baiting constantly.
All the time.
And it's too bad because on one hand, you have a lot of people who see it and call it out and are disgusted by it. But a lot of normies just eat up what, like, it's quite literally like a Trump like sort of worship of the person, of the idol of the person. They can do no wrong,
I think that was made up by the media. I think that the people follow Trump, and those same people, I would hazard to guess, more than 75% of them did not get a vaccine, despite Trump saying get a vaccine. So the idea that it's like a cult of personality, I think that the idea is like follow your follow the truth, follow what you read, and like don't be an idiot and do what other people say because they say it. Like, take advice by all means, right? Sorry.
I love you, Mark, but part of the harsh reality, especially when it comes to politics, is that like a lot of people are common people. They're kind of they're just hanging out. They're chilling. They're gonna follow. There's a lot of stupid people out there. Is what I'm trying to say, and that's just part of the reality. And if you don't admit that reality when considering politics, it's like you're gonna be like the Libertarian Party. Well, we have the better ideas. Yeah, no one cares. No one's smart enough to understand what you're saying. Yeah. You need to be catering your message to speak to dumber people. Sorry. Maybe. That's the harsh reality. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah, but even then, like, even if you cater your message pretty well, the thing is, people don't like to have things take multiple. If you have to explain something in 3 jumps, you've lost most people. Yeah. If your end is like, if you have to understand this and this and this to understand this last thing, too much, and
Yeah.
people aren't going to get it. So yeah, I think that you're right. Like you're saying that people play on a team and they'll follow that team, like the Maple Leafs, until 17 years goes by and they can't get past the first round of the playoffs. They'll just follow that team no matter what. That's what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying, and like I've been embracing the cynicism of politics over the past year, and unfortunately, this is kind of what I've come up with. All of these sneaky tactics from liberals, all of these horrible, like mind-numbingly dumb pieces of rhetoric and their propaganda and their catchphrases, they make no sense. They're selling this utopia to people, and it's so silly from our perspective, but it works.
Yeah.
They're selling it. People are getting caught up. They're feeling righteous about hating white people. Like, what they're doing works. And I'm not saying that, the opposition or whoever opposes, these global special interest controlled leftist progressives need to do the same thing, but they need to do similar things in terms of like creating our own sort of like utopia and fighting towards that, and like, really, really pumping up their rhetoric and saying things that really piss them off, saying things that really upset them, saying things that they find, hard to counter, hard to defute without looking like the bad guy.
I think that we get lost in the battle while they win the war. I think that it's because they have this unified. They think they think it is. They know it is a war, and we treat it like we're still playing fair politics. Oh, we don't even understand what's happening.
Politics.
Yeah. No, we're see, that's the other. Yeah, okay. So one of the problems is we are so behind on what's going on. We being the kind of mushy middle and right? Like people who would just like Canada to be what it was in like 2014. Just can't carry on with that. Like, fiscally responsible, whatever. That's like, and I mean, if I were asking for something perfect, I would not ask for Canada in 2014. But like that would be better than what we're currently. But even agreeing that something terrible has happened to the country is a bridge too far for some people. People are so invested. Like we spend so much money. It's like sunk cost fallacy. We spent so much money on this. We've spent so much time on this. It can't possibly be true that we're wrong, right? And so what we're experiencing is a hellish post-national nightmare under Trudeau, with increased costs for pretty much everything, inflation rampant, money which is valued more than the U.S. or more than it used to be against the U.S. dollar, but the U.S. dollar is falling, so there's problems with the economy there, and people won't acknowledge any of it, because acknowledging any piece of that would acknowledge that what Trudeau has done has been a failure. He hasn't ushered in any kind of utopia. He's just removed our rights and allowed the situation where we're locked in our homes, and hypocritical politicians abound, and there's no relief, and your businesses are bankrupt and closed because reasons, and they're not going to answer a question they don't like.
I think you're right. I think there is this sort of really disturbing like psychological phenomenon going on where people do not want to wake up and smell the flowers. It's almost like, maybe this is an interesting analogy, but it's almost like maybe you have some weird pain in your body, or you think you have something like wrong, but it's like, I don't want to go to the doctor and find out how bad this might be. So you continue to tell yourself, I like ignore it, and just kind of ignore it and ignore it and ignore it. And like, you still don't go to the doctor. And it's like, that's kind of the situation we have here with a lot of people who don't want to look at and see how bad and corrupt and rotten their political institution, not even just their political institutions, but their institutions in general are.
Yeah. Well, there was a whole bunch of, on my show this morning, I had 3 big articles. Well, 2 of them were about the same thing, but all about China, talking about how China's infiltrated like NGOs, China's infiltrated the education system through Confucius Institutes, China's infiltrated governments at various levels, other governments, including the Canadian government, different levels being municipal.
I heard China is pushing a petition to the World Health Organization to have global vaccine passports.
Yeah. Why not?
They
own the WHO. Cool. I mean,
yeah. Does this have to do with the credit system?
Yeah,
no.
Of course it does.
The social credit system? No.
Well, they're already implementing. They're going to be bringing the digital ID situation into Ontario at the end of December 2021. That's already planned. Didn't I show you that?
Pardon?
Yeah, you didn't see that?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you.
No,
Digital
I
ID.
didn't see that.
You can't load it right now though because your tabs don't load. Actually, my internet's crap still now too. It's not popping up like it should. But anyway, there is a digital ID in Ontario, and it's loading right now. And part of the digital ID, one of the reasons that they're saying that it is it's good is because it'll allow you to easily share your vaccination status with interested parties. That's like one of the top 4 bullet points on it, for real.
Who's excited about this?
People who really want to make sure Chris Sky can't get across Canada because that guy's a pain in people's bum.
Right, tyrants and wannabe technocrats.
Yeah, the fourth bullet down: digital ID for individuals. As an individual, your digital ID could be used to prove your identity when you check in for virtual medical appointments, get a birth, marriage, or death certificate, apply for government assistance, update and show vaccination records. Open a bank
Can we
account.
move on, Mark?
Utopia.
Can we move on?
Okay.
Can we move on? I don't even want to talk about this.
Yeah,
this is just upsetting me.
We can move on. Do you want more good news? Here we go. Canada won't rush reopening the border with the United States, Trudeau says. In the article, they talk about how vaccination rates need to be 75% or higher in order to get the border open. So it's not great news. It's not great news. I think that any use of coercive tactics like this is dangerous in our country, because when you start telling people it's your freedom, or I get to jab this, I get to put this thing inside you, or you have to stay right there. Like, no, man, that's not cool. In any circumstance, that's not cool.
Yeah, and since the Ford plan came out, like, that said, hey, we need to get 60 or 75% vaccinations or else we're locked down still. There's a few other normies that I talked to who were like, yeah, this is coercion. Like, this is too far. And it's like, finally, it took you long enough to see what's going on here. But what I find maddening is you'll still talk to people and they're like, well, I'm getting the vaccination so I can travel. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what gives you, like, we just saw the tourism industry be destroyed over the past year, first of all. Like, what do you mean? What, like, do you have a vacation plan? Yeah. No, of course not. Yeah. But you still want to, like you haven't planned ahead in your life, Derek. And now you're getting this, vaccine ahead of time just in case you can get a flight somewhere.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's here. They said this is the way out. They being like the leadership or the people who are making the rules or whatever. Right. If we said to everybody, let's say we used a forensic radar system and we had proof that this has all been a scam, and for whatever reason, the radar system's a callback to the
It's a good callback.
Okay.
It was a good callback.
and we convinced people. I don't think, even if we had proof, just like the proof that they found for the graveyard kids, or the mass grave, if we had ironclad proof, it would be a harder sell to the people of Ontario that this was all been a hoax, and we don't need, not a hoax. This has all been overblown with bad policy driving PCR, like it's described in the New York Times article, the PCR test that created the phantom pandemic, phantom outbreak. Just like that, if we had that proof, people would not accept it. They would wear masks. They would say, oh, I think that, I think maybe they've got it wrong. People wouldn't accept it. The easy way out is to say, this vaccine works, get the vaccine. And now you're free from all of this nightmare that you've been a part of because you got that thing that works. It's an easier sell than we went through the last year, 15 months, whatever we're at now.
Yeah, actually, we've been lying to you.
And we screwed up. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, we accidentally made you terrified of going outside and terrified of hugging your family members. Oh, bad.
Yeah, if somebody came out and said, oh, man, these PCR tests, guess what, everyone? Like, you can make a mistake and cost your company millions of dollars. And then you go, oh my gosh, right? Like, is this, I feel terrible, but you fix the mistake and you hope to God they don't fire you. Or if they fire you, you're like, well, I worked for this one. Maybe I'll omit that from the resume, right? But if you convince the entire Western world that everybody's sick all the time and that you need to shut down the whole Western world for this thing, and then you're like, oh shit, that PCR test was kind of flawed. Do you go, hey, everybody, sorry? Like, that's not going to fly so well, right? People are going to be pissed. So what do? Right? Like, you give them a way out. But now they're kind of yo-yoing the way out, which is really strange, right? Like, it's like 75% vaxxed,
honestly,
90% vaxxed, 100% vaxxed.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this. I know we've talked about this, but I really feel like this is the initial experiment. This
That
is
was
the
last
initial
year.
experiment. I still think they're collecting data now, though, when it comes to vaccines. What are people's compliance with vaccines? What works people to get vaccinated? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And like, I try to explain this to normies. It's like, bro, it's not so much about, like, it's about the precedent that's being set here.
Yep.
Like, all these precedents being set are not good.
No.
Like, like we are going to this space where we're like putting the utmost trust in the government, bureaucrats, and this bureaucratic entity, Health Canada, to control our entire lives.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. It's just like, where do you even begin with somebody who has the trust in like everything that's going on?
You tell
It's
them
like there's so much.
You tell them to look up what central planning is and how central planning impacts the day-to-day life of North Koreans. Or
bro, unless there's an Instagram story about it, this normie will not consume it. It needs to be a very easy to consume, simple thing.
That sounds like a guy I know who makes these really simple, easy to digest videos about central planning. Go. Make it funny too, if you can. I mean, they made Hogan's Heroes, and they made all sorts of funny things after the Second World War. I mean, like, not that you have to laugh, but you've seen the, like, Are We the Baddies? Like, you've seen that clip, right? Like, the Are We the Baddies?
Are We the Baddies?
Yeah, right. Like, the Allies didn't make us have skulls on our uniforms. Right? And it's like, right, you can make it funny, right? Like, you can't be like, comedy shouldn't be like, oh no, an atrocity happened, so it can't be funny. Like, comedy should be, I mean, you could acknowledge the atrocity and then make people. Did you see after the Crocodile Hunter? You remember the Crocodile Hunter, right? The day he died, Norm Macdonald showed up on The Daily Show. And Jon Stewart and Norm Macdonald said, you want to know what's funny? And Jon Stewart said, don't do this to me. Don't make me laugh yet. I'm not ready to laugh yet about the Crocodile Hunter dying, right? He's like, well, he's like, in like, not shocking at all news, like, a man named the Crocodile Hunter died today. Like, and Stewart started laughing, and then and Norm Macdonald went off, and it was very funny. And it's the same kind of thing, in my opinion, right? Like, pointing it out should be, I mean, maybe it was a bit too soon, right? But I think that was where too soon was born. He's like, what, too soon?
Well, and you're right. And part of this battle that we're in, they really are trying to soften people to the point where they are just so passive and feminine, and you can't say anything. You can't joke about anything. And it's really, like everything going on, they believe it's well-intended. It's to, not hurt anyone's feelings. Yeah. But it's like, we need daddy figures. We need, assholes to be like, this is happening. You're dumb. You're overweight. Overweight is bad. We need these people to be telling the truth, basically. The truth that we don't want to hear.
Yeah. One of the first subreddits taken down was Fat People Hate. Fat People Hate was a subreddit, and it had a lot of, there were a lot of people who were on, and I thought, this is a crazy subreddit. And then it was one of the first ones taken down. It was a harbinger of things to come. And not to say that Fat People Hate should have stayed, but it was one of those things that I thought, I should pay attention to this. And here we are.
Yeah. There's a definite pattern in what gets celebrated, pride, and what does not get celebrated, which is like,
traditional rules.
A straight Christian man who has a loving family,
right?
And is a stand-up guy.
Yeah, right. No, you got to take that guy down. Got to take that guy down. Okay, let's talk about NACI. NACI is the National Association for Vaccination. Oh, I've got it terribly wrong. I can't remember what the stands for, and I just looked it up literally before the show to tell Greg, so I feel bad about that. But anyway, NACI has decided that they will update their guidance and recommend mixing and matching mRNA and viral vector vaccines. So that viral vector vaccines is AstraZeneca, and the mRNA are the Pfizer and the Moderna. And who's NASI? It also okays mixing and matching Pfizer and Moderna vaccine for first and second doses. So who are these people? National Advisory Committee on Immunization, NASI. Who are these people that can just decide this unilaterally without talking to the manufacturer or anything like that? They're just like, yeah, I think that's probably fine.
You can't tell me this isn't experimental. Like we know it's experimental because it's synthetic mRNA and that, it's being massively distributed across the world. Historically, vaccine-wise, medical history-wise, something like this has never happened before.
Yes.
And now they're just mixing and matching. And it's this specific piece of information is like very instructive, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's like, it's the headline that says it's okay. And it's like, okay. And it's like, where is the science in any of that? It's just the headline. It's just the saying, some authority. Yeah. Some authority. Oh my God. Yo, they have a whole logo and everything, and they looked into it. Oh my goodness.
Listen, they used forensic radar, and now they know. They did the forensic radaring, and they made sure this is safe, and it's safe. It's unquestionable science.
It's this cult-like dogmatic belief in authority and science. And it's not to say stop believing in science, of course not. But it's like, when it comes down to this vaccine situation, it's like, are you going to allow them to inject a bunch of different things into your body? Like I don't know. It's just...
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that, but
yeah. Well, I mean, just allowing them to change the rules around dosing. I mean, a lot of people that I know were really upset when they got their first shot of AstraZeneca and they were told that they were going to get their second shot on the recommended dosing schedule, and then they just decided, no, we're going to do it 4 months later. Like, it wasn't like you can get it 4 months later. It was like, here's the recommended dosing schedule, and we're going to toss that out the window, and you don't get an option. We're going to shame you if you ask for it. Don't you dare ask for it. And that's weird. And they didn't have the data for it then. I don't think they have the data for it now. Somebody told me, I was talking with some people at the park, and I said, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. And I could feel the chill. And I was like, I'm going to keep going. And I said, my kids have had their MMR, like the mumps, measles, rubella, whatever. And I had that, and I'm okay, and whatever. But I said, the rollout has been a disaster. Like, it's been a complete disaster. And then they say the AstraZeneca is okay. Then they say it's not. Then they say it's okay again. Then people get blood clots. Then people are getting...
Then they say it's not, and then they say it's okay again.
Yeah, right? and then people are getting...
That's two full flip-flops, and then another flip. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, and people are getting myocarditis with... young people are getting myocarditis. At the same time, Canada's pushing these Pfizer shots for kids. And I mean, Moderna's not really... I'm not hearing a lot about Moderna, but I think that we don't have all that much Moderna, so it doesn't really matter here. But whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just a strange thing to expect confidence from the public when it's been such a shit show.
Yeah, and it's such a contradiction to compare how specific and rigid what human beings are allowed to do now. You can't have this many people in your business. Yeah. You can't have this business over. You can't go to this board. Like, it's very rigid and specific, and this is all health and safety. Okay, this is all very calculated. The science table said this, guys. So specifically,
science
you can move
table.
here. You can't do that. Can't hug your family. Can't move. Can't be mobile. We're gonna arrest you if you do so. But when it comes to being a vaccine manufacturer, just do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, shield it.
We'll shuffle them up. Who cares of the expiry dates? All this. You guys are really so sticking on this expiry date thing, or this schedule, guys. I know it's science, but let's mix it up a bit, all right? They'll mix up the type of vaccines. It's all good, okay? Just relaxed, okay? We got this.
The expired doses, or the doses that were set to expire yesterday and now they expire in July, that made me laugh too. And that was another thing. Like, what person in their right mind would be like, oh yeah, give me one of those? Like, come on. I know this is going to help me because you told
Yeah,
me. And
the
this
tweet,
milk is
the tweet,
definitely not sour from last month. Like,
the tweet I made was like, Health Canada changes the expiry date with like a Sharpie pen.
mhm.
And then Health Canada says, why don't you trust the science? Like, don't you know this is for your health and safety? It's like, brother, you just, what? Like, you just literally, okay.
It's like going to a sketchy corner store in a place that you're not familiar with, and like seeing seeing Sharpie on the milk, like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
when did you? Never mind. I'm not going to get this milk. I'm just not going to do that. All right, last one. They're changing the variant names in order to avoid things like India demanding cultures of the so-called Indian variant B1617. Now they're going to just name them after Greek letters. So we'll have like the Omega variant or the Delta variant. The Delta variant's a bad 90s band name, I think. Like,
Yeah.
terrible.
The, I have a marketing background. So I like, we haven't talked about this too much, but like the branding, the brand awareness and the marketing of COVID has been absolutely phenomenal. Like we have brand ambassadors all around outside. They wear masks and it's like, oh man, they're a COVID believer. They're promoting COVID and COVID-19. Like this product is all over the market, all over any radio station, any TV station. All you hear about is COVID vaccine and then, Pfizer vaccine, this vaccine, like it's so much of it feels like this campaign to scare
That's all it is.
daylights out of everybody. And this is kind of like the next level of that. People, cool, they're giving the variants new names and there's these new catchy phrases. Let's talk about children being abducted or disappearances in Canada. I heard the statistic the other day. I don't know if you can confirm this, but it's like 20,000 or 40,000 children go missing in Canada each year.
Wow, that's high. No, I'm not going to check because
don't
it's
quote
crazy.
me on that. But
Yeah.
I don't quote me on that, but apparently it's in the tens of thousands. Like,
Gotcha.
where's the branding campaign for that? Where's the nickname for that? The child abductions. Look out for the Childos. The Childo 2020, the Childo 2021. We have to look out for these people. Where's the awareness for drug overdoses? Where's the kind of cool, look out for those ODOs, the ODOs, OD 2021s. Like there's no brand awareness or marketing for these other, quite frankly, pandemics, whatever,
Things
of
that
like,
happen.
thousands of people dying each year. Apparently drug overdoses right now in Canada is absolutely abhorrent how many people are dying. And like there's no brand awareness. There's no catchy nicknames.
Nope.
This cool. This was a carfentanil overdose. That was a carfentanil variant.
Yeah.
This is a fentanyl variant.
Yeah.
This was like, people being lost in despair and no one talking about it on TV variant.
Yeah. The overdose thing, they're expanding the safe injection site in Guelph, which led to the safe injection site had a 100% increase, more than 100% increase in deaths, 7 in 2019, more than 15 in 2020. And it's like, well, how can you justify that? And I've talked about this on my show a bunch, but it's like, how can you justify the outcomes that are terrible? Like,
were you the one who told me that the inventor of safe injection sites overdosed?
No, I don't think so.
Somebody told me that. So once again, don't quote me on that. Maybe fact check that.
You were pretty close on the missing kids. 30,000, 2019, 40,000 kids. In 1987, 57,000 cases were reported. 2019, 40,000. And runaways in 2019 represented the majority of missing children at 30,000. So there's
Forget COVID.
10,
What about
000.
No Kid 2020? What about No Kid? We need to talk about No Kid.
Branding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's...
Yeah, no, I mean, there are certainly other things. And I think the focus on COVID to the exclusion of everything else is yet another mistake that has been made by a government that has done nothing but misstep this whole debacle.
It's been a mistake.
Yeah, it's been a complete and utter mess.
It's been a huge mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, this is who is that? I made a huge mistake. Oh, that's from Arrested Development. I made a huge mistake. It's like Michael, not George Michael. It was just Michael, right? Yeah, I made a huge mistake. Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's finish it off. Where can they find you? Last words. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Yeah. I think that was really it with the COVID branding and everything. Like, think about it like a Coca-Cola drink.
Yep.
You know, like it's like very popular. It's everywhere. You know, you got to get your new designer mask. It's this like trendy thing. Uh, but yeah, it's what is this brand really about? What does this brand really give us? It gives us tyranny.
Yes.
You know, I don't like this product. I do
No.
not like this product. I'm not a fan. So I'm not going to buy into your multi-level marketing scheme.
Yes, that's
Um,
exactly what this is in. This is right now.
anyway, you can find me on the YouTube at Greg Wycliffe. You can find me on TikTok and Twitter at GWGDDUB. Thanks for having me, Mark, as always.
Yeah, man, it's always good to see you. The marketing of this, you have to really question why they're pushing it so much. A true pandemic would be self-evident, I think, and would not need
Yeah.
this marketing campaign. So there's you have to question the motivations of the people that are selling this to you, using your own tax dollars to fund it. We are funding our own fear through constant ads, constantly allowing the news, etc., to focus again wholly on COVID and minimize everything else. And Canada as a whole, I think, is much worse off than we were in 2014. And if I were to pick an ideal Canada to return to, it wouldn't be 2014 Canada. Just want to make that clear. All right, that's enough out of me. You can find me at CanadaPoly.com. You can find my scratchpad at CanadaReport.co. You can find our back catalog at Canada. Oh no, not Canada. SpeakingMoistly.co. And thanks for watching. Here's the Prime Minister to play us out, and we'll see you next week. Next week, Greg?
Yeah, let's do it.
Nice. Oh, and I'll have I'm going to be interviewing Jilly Davis as well on Thursday this week, and I think we'll do it in the Speaking Moistly slot because it sounds fun. So, all right, here's the Prime Minister. We'll see you next week.
Speaking moistly. Keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly. Speaking moistly. Keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly. Oh, what a terrible image.